What's up, dude? If you've ever had a really well-made Osso Buco, then you know it's just one of those recipes that sticks in your head for days, weeks, months, whispering in your ear, make me again. So today I'll teach you how to make a rich, delicious, comforting beef Osso Buco that will hit you right in the warm and fuzzies. Now let's go! And we're gonna start off today's dish by making some rosemary salt, and it's extremely easy to do. Here's how you make it. The detailed recipe will be listed in the description under the video, but just take a food processor filled with a bunch of kosher salt and then add a bunch of stripped rosemary leaves to it. Then you're just gonna add some picked leaves of sage as well as a couple cloves of garlic and some lemon zest. And it's simple as all that. Just blend it up for about 1 minute and your rosemary salt is completely finished. Then just pop a lid on this and keep it in the fridge. It will literally last for months, but I try to use it within a few weeks for that optimal fresh flavor. And it's literally good on pretty much everything: chicken, pork, beef, lamb, potatoes, carrots, whatever. And if you want to see some testimonials, just go read the comments under this video and some people will tell you why they love this stuff. Now, traditionally, Osso Buco is made with veal shanks. Personally, I'm not that down with veal, so I just use beef shanks instead. Just make sure when you choose them, you see a lot of that bone marrow in the middle, because that's a really important part of this dish. And you may also notice this big, thick silver skin that's completely covering the circumference of this beef shank. So if you want, you could remove this now and then use a butcher's twine to tie it up. If you do want to take it off, just slip under a little knife like this. And then what you want to do is slightly tilt up, but not too much where you're going to slice through it, right? Just a slight pull to the top. And then I'm just guiding the knife. And now I can actually hold on to that silver skin. And I'm just going to make my way down, just like that. Slice that on the other end. But as you can see, the downside to doing that is now it's really prone to coming apart. So it's up to you, my friends. And now we're just gonna season them up with that fresh rosemary salt. If you know, you know, and now you do. Just be careful. When I see a lot of people who make rosemary salt for the first time, they generally just put way too much. It's salt. So there's a little bit of herbs in it, but this is pure salt. So just keep that in mind and use it how you would use just salt. And of course, some Sergeant Gilbert reporting for duty. And I'm going for a little bit of a finer ground here on both sides, of course, as well. Now, we're gonna flour up our Osso Buco. That's not powdered sugar. I just have it in a little strainer here. And this is what's gonna give it a little texture and also thicken up our sauce. Tap it in, we'll flip. Do the same thing on the other side. Just a light coating of flour. We don't need crazy amounts. That's all it takes, a tablespoon or so of flour. Can dip up those edges a little bit. Happy days. Next, we're gonna slice up some bacon. And I had this in the freezer. I pulled it out for about 30 minutes and it's just perfect for slicing right now. It's a good trick for you. Traditionally, you're gonna see pancetta used in Osso Buco, but I found that like in most recipes where they use pancetta, I almost always prefer bacon instead. But up to you. If you want to use pancetta, use pancetta. And I'm just slicing this bacon into little cubes, basically. You could also leave it out entirely if you don't cook with pork or you just don't want to use it. That's also fine. Now, bacon goes straight into a cold saute pan. A bigger one is preferred. And then I'll just put the heat onto around medium, and we're going to slowly render off this bacon, which just means to pull out all that fat. And after about 12 minutes, your bacon will be completely rendered. The fat is left behind and it's nice and golden brown and crispy. And now what I'm going to do is remove this bacon with a slotted spoon and leave the fat behind in the pan. And now with that same pan on medium-high heat, we're going to go ahead and sear off our beef shanks in this bacon fat. I just have enough room. And I'm searing these off in this saute pan. I'm not searing them off in the pot that I'll be braising them in, and that's because I don't like searing things in these kind of pots. Enameled cast iron. For some reason, even when the heat's high and you're trying to sear in one of these, it just burns the bottom of the pan and doesn't really sear the beef very well. I mean, go look at some Osso Buco recipes online and look at the part where they sear in these things. It's always just black on the bottom, and then all of that washes away into your stew. It's insane. So we'll sear here and then we'll transition to this. And another problem with not removing that silver skin is sometimes you'll get it bulging out. You see this? Because the silver skin is actually shrinking and it's forcing the meat out. I could have done this before, but if I just make a couple little snips with some kitchen shears, just to relieve that pressure, hopefully we can get it back in, make another snip over here. It helped a little bit, but it was really just that one. And after a good 5-minute sear, I'll go ahead and flip over. And because they're floured, it'll suck up more fat. So if you find you need to add a little bit of oil at this point, just go ahead and do it. And I'm definitely going to. Otherwise, that other side is literally just just gonna burn, but just maintain a little bit of oil on the bottom. And then same deal on the other side. And next we're just gonna bang out a little bit of veggie prep by peeling down some carrots, and then I like to use a mandolin here to slice them into these little planks before then using my knife to slice them into long little julienne strings. And from there I'll just turn them sideways and do a really nice fine dice. I want these to sort of melt into the sauce. A mandolin's definitely one tool all chefs will recommend to you. If you don't have one, it can be an amazing way to get professional cuts without having to be a professional. I'll put a link to the one I use down in the description. And then we gotta get some similar sized pieces from a whole onion, so just cut it in half, peel it down, and then slice it across before dicing it as thin as you can. If it doesn't look quite right by the time you're finished, just run your knife with it a few times. You can definitely do that as much as you want with onions. And I also want some big chunks of carrot that won't melt in the sauce, but will just be more a part of our stew. And for that, I cut these little oblique shapes. I just like this shape whenever you're doing stews or braises, but you can cut them whatever shape you like. Now in my braising pot here on medium heat, I'm gonna add some olive oil and some unsalted butter. And now we're gonna add our really finely diced onions, and of course our little mini carrots as well. Look at that. And hit that with just a little bit of salt. And we're gonna begin sweating these vegetables down for about 10 minutes until they're nice and translucent. And you may have noticed I didn't put any celery or garlic in here. And that's because over the years I found, especially when I'm slow cooking or braising food, the celery and the garlic just takes over too much. And I've done side-by-side comparisons when it's just carrots and onions versus carrots, onions, celery, garlic. And for me, as well as other people, carrots and onions just always wins. But again, it's up to you. You wanna put celery, you wanna put garlic, it's still gonna be amazing. And when your vegetables are nice and soft with minimal color, we're gonna go ahead and add our tomato paste. And then with the heat on medium here, we're just gonna toast off this tomato paste for about 3 or 4 minutes. And this is an important part in the process because it removes that sort of acidic tart taste and really deepens and changes the flavor. So definitely make sure you do this. I'm gonna go ahead and add that bacon back in now. And at this point, it's been 5 minutes with the tomato paste. I can see and smell how much it's changed. And it's at this point I'm gonna add my red wine. And I don't like doing that much in these kind of braises. It's about a cup. And we're first now gonna cook this down until that wine is just absorbed into the vegetables. About 3 minutes with the wine, and I'm gonna go ahead and add my crushed tomato. And kind of like that tomato paste, I also like to add this before the stock so I can deepen the flavor of the tomatoes. So I'm gonna cook this down first for another 3-4 minutes. And now, once that's thickened up like so, we'll go ahead and add our beef stock. Now before moving on, there is one thing I can tell you with 100% certainty: great broth makes great food. It's just a fact. The real problem is finding the time to make great broth from scratch. And that's why I'm using bone broth from our sponsor, Kettle and Fire, to make today's Osso Buco recipe just that much easier. And I love that it's made with 100% grass-fed beef bones, organic veggies, and herbs and spices. And it's slowly simmered for over 14 hours. So you still get all that flavor and gut-healthy, collagen-rich goodness without doing all the work yourself. Personally, I love the fall season and all the saucy, comforting dishes it brings, and just knowing I can go grab some Kettle and Fire to make my dish all that much better without having to do all the work is just a huge bonus in my kitchen. No stress, just pure flavor. What's not to love, my friends? If you're ready to instantly upgrade your meals, try Kettle and Fire today. And they've even hooked me up with an exclusive discount so you can save 20% by clicking the link that's down in the description underneath this video. Thank you, Kettle and Fire, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the recipe. And now our shanks go back in. This is getting exciting. And so you don't want to add too much beef stock right away, because as you add these shanks, you see that level just really rising. And we just want these to be just barely submerged here. This honestly looks good. And lastly, we'll just add a couple sprigs of thyme and a couple sprigs of rosemary, but be careful, especially with the rosemary, you don't need much. Very strong herb. I'll add a couple bay leaves as well. And now with the pan you seared the beef in, if you see a lot of good fond, let's go ahead and deglaze that with a little bit of beef stock. And I'll just scrape away with my little wooden tool here. It's all good flavor, no reason not to have this in your braise. We'll just go ahead and add that the rest of our braising liquid here. And the last thing I add is just like a teaspoon, maybe a little more of red wine vinegar. I just like the way it lifts the whole thing up. And I think it's fair to say that on this channel, we sort of specialize in like the saucy comfort food, winter, fall kind of dishes. And so what I've found from making so many dishes that are similar to Osso Buco, I don't even know how many, so many, is that most of the recipes you're gonna find on the internet are way too wine heavy and way too tomato heavy. They just become too acidic. Those flavors take over. The wine is like like astringent, it dries out your mouth. And so my biggest tip for you today is to reduce the amount of wine and tomatoes you use in these sort of braised things and increase the amount of stock. I'm telling you, that's always better, at least in my opinion, but try it for yourself. For the ratios I use, just check the recipe down in the description for this. Now you could go complete stovetop with this one, but I'm just gonna pop a lid on it to start. We're not gonna keep that lid on the whole time, and I'm gonna jam it in a 325-degree oven. Celsius is right here, and we are just gonna let it roll, my friends. And honestly, I would be surprised if that's done in under 3 hours. I'm kind of thinking 3 hours in my head at that temp. And of course, you could cook it in a hotter oven or hotter on the stove, but it's just never a good idea when you're slow cooking or braising food. You want it to be like a very gentle kind of simmer. And after about an hour and 20 minutes in the oven, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this lid now. And you can see just how red this is right now, but it's kind of deceiving. The actual color of the stock isn't that red. It's all the fat that's now on top that's stained by that tomato paste. And while we definitely do want a little bit of fat remaining in this dish, we definitely need to skim some off because it's acting like this protective shield and it will actually stop it from reducing. So I'm just gonna take a soup ladle here and begin to skim away about 80% of the fat that remains on top of this Osso Buco. And I can definitely recommend that you save this fat that you skim off the top. I mean, it's pure gold. Next time you make a soup or a stew or a curry or something, just throw that in and trust me, it's only gonna make it that much better. And also at this point, I'll add in those oblique shaped carrots that I cut earlier. These are the perfect time to add them so they don't get too mushy, but they still cook nicely with the stew. And just make sure everything is submerged and return to the oven. And now here we are after exactly 3 hours in the oven. At this point, the meat is definitely done, but there's a few pro tricks we can use to really set this Osso Buco apart from the rest. Now, what I think is most important here is that you let it rest in the liquid it cooked in for at least an hour. Because right now the meat is just far too stiff and stressed out from all that heat, and the muscle fibers are all cramped up. As it relaxes in that liquid, everything is just gonna sort of relax and saturate with all this juice, and it just gets so much more tender. If you pull these out right away and just let them steam over here, they're gonna be so much drier. Just let them rest in the liquid. And while that's happening, you can make some Gremolata. This is one of the easiest garnishes you could ever make, and it's a classic pairing with Osso Buco. Just start by chopping up some flat leaf Italian parsley. Just make sure you use a nice sharp knife for this so you keep that color nice and locked in and green. Then all I'm gonna do is microplane in some fresh garlic and some lemon zest before giving it one more final chop, and that's your Gremolata done. Basically what this does is just cut through that rich fattiness of the Osso Buco with the acidity from the garlic and the lemon. It really just pairs well. And once your Osso Buco is good and rested, we'll just go ahead and finish with the Gremolata. Of course, you can do this per plate. I'm really doing it this way because it looks cool for a thumbnail. And there you have it, my friends. Osso Buco done. Have you ever had Osso Buco?
Never.
Well, I guess it's not true Osso Buco because it's not veal, but give it a shot, bud. And by the way, serve it with mashed potatoes. Saffron risotto is another thing people serve it with. Polenta would be amazing, whatever you fancy. All right, Marcus, bon appetito.
Butter.
Pretty dang soft, huh? Wow.
It's about as tender as meat can be.
Nobody's gonna be mad about this. Oh, the Gremolata, man. Man, having a nice bite of that with the Gremolata on top, that's such a cool experience. I don't know, it's just refreshing. It's super tasty and not heavy, if that makes sense.
Get good bread and butter and just suck this sauce up.
Oh yeah, that would be good. And not too much tomato, not too much wine. It's like a nicely balanced braising liquid, and those little tiny pieces of carrots and onion literally like kind of melt it into the sauce and really holds it together without having to use extra thickener. Fire.
It tastes really good, and this is the fanciest looking stew thing we've made probably, because a lot of stews are just slops. This has the nice bone in the center, very presentable.
I don't know what to say, my friends. Make this. You'll feel like you're eating out at a restaurant or whatever, or some bullshit like that. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching today, my friend, and if you're a fan of written recipes, check out my Master in the Making ebook that will be linked down in the description. And if you love Osso Buco, you should definitely try making boeuf bourguignon as well as coq au vin. These are two of the most amazing, saucy, comfort food recipes of all time. Thanks for watching, and until next time, you know I love you and I'm out.